There are many paths to success. The one you choose depends on your own unique desire. Once you have the desire to be successful, you set a goal for yourself and make a total commitment to achieving it. You master the tools of your trade, whatever they may be. Then you persist forward on your journey. There are many standards by which to measure success. The standards of Major League Baseball tell us that no one is more successful than Pete Rose. This profile in success will show you how a positive, winning attitude can be applied to your own life and give you the strength to achieve your goals.
I'm a firm believer that in this world you can only have two attitudes, positive or negative. I just happen to call it winning or losing.
Base hit! Pete Rose has a base hit! Freitas will score! The ball by Dernier. Rose is racing around second. Rose digging for third. There's that headfirst slide, and this crowd goes bananas!
And I've been in clubhouses where guys that we beat were actually sitting there drinking our champagne. Those guys are going to be easy to beat the next time, too. That's my philosophy. You can be just as aggressive as a businessman as you can as a baseball player. You just won't get as dirty. It seems like everybody's looking for the easy way. That's why I always thought, and I still do, that anybody who ever had the same ability as I had didn't have a chance to beat me.
For Pete Rose, winning is a way of life. There is simply no acceptable alternative. Few have had more success than Pete. No one has had more fun. He has a special quality that extends beyond baseball and can be applied to everyone's life. The ability to rise above limitations and push God-given talent to the max. This is Bob Trumpy, and I'd like you to join me on a journey into the life and times of one of the most incredible human beings I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. A man who has reached the top through hard work, dedication, and boundless enthusiasm. Pete has been a friend and inspiration to me for many years, and I'm sure that this profile in success will inspire you to look within yourself and find what it takes for you to be a winner. Join me now as we take a look at what keeps Pete Rose reaching for the sky.
I just can't imagine any kid today growing up having as much fun as I did. Just to what I was exposed to. I mean, I had everything within a mile radius, everything. And I had a river, I had woods, I had baseball, football, basketball. I mean, I had everything. My father played football when he was 42 years old. So he took me with him as water boy for the football team. He played basketball at Christ Church. I was the ball boy for the basketball team. I was the bat boy for the baseball teams. So he exposed me to sports. I cannot take credit for anything that I've accomplished up till today without talking about my father for a long length of time. I mean, that's just the way it is. I had a father who one time kicked off in a football game, and when he kicked his hip, he broke his hip. And he started crawling down the field to try to make the tackle. And that's what you're talking about, and I saw that. I mean, those are the kind of things that live within Pete Rose. And I saw him one time make a tackle in a football game, and he had a knot the size of a baseball on his elbow right here. I can remember like it happened yesterday. He took a half a towel, and he put a big ice pack on it, and went back in the next play, and intercepted a pass and went 60 yards for a touchdown. Oh, those are the things that I saw.
You had the opportunity.
Yes.
Your dad gave it to you. You had the equipment. You certainly had the places to play football, basketball.
And I took advantage of it, which is important.
But that doesn't account for the inner you.
Well, let me explain something.
There are a lot of people that had the same opportunity you did, at other ballparks in the country that don't grow up having 200 hits 20 years in a row. What you're saying is you basically, just through observance of your father, you thought those attributes that you'd like to have. But Pete, I'm convinced that just because you see those in other people doesn't mean that you grow up with those.
Well,
You
I
understand
think
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think I grew up with them because my father was always very, very positive toward me in sports. He was critical, but he was critical at the right time. I go to games today and see youngsters play, and a kid would make a mistake, and her father would yell out of the stands at him, embarrass him. My father never embarrassed me. He never made me feel like a little boy playing the game of baseball. If I did something he didn't like, or if I did something he didn't agree with, he would wait till we're on our way home, and he would try to explain it to me. And he'd explain it in a very positive way, and he'd always put winning as very important. And regardless of what people think, winning is very important. In my profession, baseball, if winning wasn't important, why do they keep score? It's as simple as that.
You attract winning. It's your attitude. It's the innate part of you. Mike Schmidt has given you credit for his back-to-back most valuable player trophies back in the early 80s. The reason he's given you credit is that he says that Pete taught me how to be a champion.
Well, he's right.
Pete, there. And he also said you were very humble.
Well, it's something that...
You're like a magnet to
it's
championships.
something that happens. I mean, I don't think... I didn't go to Philadelphia expecting to be a team leader, because I don't think you can go anywhere and assume team leadership until you got the respect of the people that are surrounding you. I went there with over 3,000 hits. I went there with 14, 15 all-star games, different things like that, 44 games in a row, hitting streak, different things like that. But it took me a year of playing day in and day out hard-nosed baseball before I really gained the respect of the Philadelphia players. And the very next year, 1980, is the first time in 97 years that the Phillies won the World Series.
Schmidt won the most valuable player. Morgan in Cincinnati won the most valuable player. You were a teammate. You won it. Bench won it. George Foster won it. Am I leaving anybody out that you have been on the field with who
Well,
turned out to
I
be
had
the
a
most
period
valuable
one
player?
time there in my career where I played 12 years in the big leagues, and I played with 9 most valuable players.
That's no accident, in my
Well,
estimation.
it's no accident, certainly, because the reason I played with 9 most valuable players is because we won. I hit in front of 2 guys who won back-to-back most valuable players. Joe Morgan in 75 and 76, I hit in front of him. And Mike Schmidt in 80 and 81, I hit in front of him. It's no question I made their jobs a lot easier, and they made my jobs a lot easier. But we're part of a team. We're part of a team working together to be number one.
Mm-hmm. I keep trying to get to this
It's
point.
awfully hard to get players to understand that. A winning team has a lot of players who make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the difference in today. There's too much me and I, and not enough we.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem.
Sure.
Not only with sports, but in all society.
But in my estimation, it can be no accident that you have served as kind of a magnet to success. And part of that magnetism is the inner you, is what you're made of. And I'm not sure anybody really knows how deep it goes, and maybe we'll never know. But the first and only indication, in my estimation, we ever got was September 11th, 1985.
First inning, Pete Rose against Eric
After
Shaw.
22 years in the big leagues, Pete Rose came to the plate on September 11th, 1985, with the weight of history on his shoulders. He was on the verge of breaking one of the most enduring records in sports, Ty Cobb's major league record for most hits in a career. This was it. Pete was about to reach the absolute top of his profession.
Which I think is the way that they'll try to pitch him since they were successful with it last night. And that is really the only spot in Pete's batting stance that he's vulnerable in.
If you have a lump in your throat, you're only human. And it's 2 balls, 1 strike on Rose. Everybody on their feet here in Cincinnati, and a worldwide television audience watching these moments tonight here at Riverfront Stadium. 2-1 pitch from Shouse into left center. There it is. Rose has eclipsed Cobb. That's number 4,192.
First of all, I get the base hit. Now I'm standing out there, and I'm looking up, and there's 55,000 people all on their feet. First of all, I felt like I knew 3/4 of the people in the stands after playing there as long as I played. And all of a sudden, the ground crew guy comes, he takes the base. They brought a new car in they give me. The guy backed the car away where I couldn't lean on the car. Now I'm out there all alone. First time in my life I'm on a baseball diamond, I don't know what to do.
The only thing I'm disappointed in, Ken, is I can't be down there to shake his hand right now.
Well, there is love aplenty here in Cincinnati. And Eric Shaw becomes a spectator as this city loves their native son. And I think, Joe Morgan, you would agree that from somewhere above tonight, Pete's dad has to be looking down with a big smile on Cincinnati Riverfront Stadium and his little son, Petey. It has to be a very approving smile from Pete Sr. The moment we've all waited for, hit number 4,192, that makes Pete Rose the all-time Major League Baseball hit leader. It comes at 8:01 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, September the 11th, 1985, off the Padres' Eric Shaw.
I start thinking about people responsible for me being in the middle of the stadium. And I don't know why, I just looked up in the air. And when I looked up in the air, I figured, I know my dad's up there, he's not down there. So I figured he's looking. I figured my Uncle Buddy, who signed me to a professional contract, is up there, he's looking. Then all of a sudden, my son came out. So first of all, you have Pete Rose, the ball player, standing in front of 50,000 people at Riverfront Stadium. Then you have Pete Rose, the ball player, looking and thinking of Pete Rose Sr. Then all of a sudden, Pete Rose II, my son, comes out and embraces me. So what you saw in the course of a minute and a half was 3 generations of Pete Roses. And I think for the first time in my career, I showed the fans that I did have emotions. You know, they're used to me knocking catchers down, getting in fights at second base, sliding head first in the third, sliding head first in the second. They didn't know I had emotion. And everyone's got emotion. It just took 8 minutes to show mine.
Just breathe it in.
I think the real thing he's doing there is finally giving a sigh of relief. Because no matter what you say, it would have to be building on him because so many people are pulling for him and wanting him to get this base hit that he just wants to get it out of the way.
I think it's easy to imagine what goes through a mind at this moment. Boy, this is his game, it's his town, and it is his moment. Tommy Helms, his roommate, when both played here together in Cincinnati.
And they started off together in the minor league, so Tommy has the same type of feeling for Pete that his family does.
Son Petey Jr. His mom, Laverne. This is how it happened minutes ago.
It's a slider inside, and Pete hit a ball like he's done probably 4,000 times, a line drive over shortstop. And right there, he knows it's a base hit. He knows that's it. And he rounds the bag the way he always does. All out.
Pete Rose said that in his dreams, he imagined a line drive over second base. And we'll let a matter of feet go by the boards because he got the hit he wanted.
And every time I see it, I get a little mad because I should have had a double on it. Seriously, I mean...
Then you'd have really been alone out there.
Well, if I knew the ball was going to bounce as high as it did, Martinez could have threw me out at second. And that probably would have made it better for ESPN and the other stations if I went head first in the second and was safe.
We all see the numbers. We see the rings. We know about the championships. But I think more people in the world are interested in what makes you what you are. The head first slide, the run into first base on ball 4, catching a foul pop out of the mitt of Bob Boone in the World Series, being in the right place at the right time, spiking the ball into the AstroTurf. It's all part of the image, that the legacy that you'll leave out of baseball. Where'd it come from? How does it get there?
Well, first of all, let me explain something. I don't play baseball any differently today at Riverfront Stadium than I did when I played at Pete Rose Park or Bullface Park down in Sedansville, where I grew up when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. Baseball has not changed. 3 strikes, you're out. 3 outs, the inning's over. 9-inning game. The guy with the most runs wins the game, which is obviously very important to me at that time, just as it is today, being manager of the Cincinnati Reds. I can remember like it was yesterday sitting there watching Enos Slaughter play on TV, on my 7-inch TV screen, or our 7-inch TV screen. We each had 1 1/4 inches. And Enos Slaughter got a walk, and he sprinted to first base on a base on balls. My father says, "Did you see him run to first in?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "That's positive thinking there. The faster he gets to first, the faster he's going to get to second. The faster he gets to second, the faster he's going to get to third. The faster he gets to third, the faster he's going to score a run." He said, "That's enthusiasm. That's the right way to play the game."
How old were you?
About 8 years old.
Is that when you started running
That's
to
when I
first
started
base?
running to first.
There are very few people who are willing, who can say, honestly, I gave 110%. You may be one of those people.
Well, there again, that was my father's philosophy. And here's what my father told me. He said, "Pete," he said, "you have to give," he didn't really say 110, he said a little extra. He said, because you might be playing against someone giving 100%. And if you're only giving 100, you're going to tie. And that's not the object of the game. The object of the game is to win. So you have to give a little extra if you want to be a winner. And I think everyone watching, listening, or thinking about us talking up here wants to be a winner.
Here's the problem, though, with that. It's nice to talk about everyone aspires to the 110%, but there's no accelerator on you. How do you know where 110% is? What to you is that little extra?
But I think everything that I talk about or everything that I do, I learned through experience. I remember one time we were playing the Cardinals. The score 7-0. It's the 7th inning. 2 outs, nobody on. I'm the hitter. Ray Washburn's the pitcher. Bill White's the first baseman.
7-0 against you.
We're losing 7-0. I hit a 1-hopper right back to the pitcher right here. He caught it like this. Inning over. He throws the ball high to first. Bill White jumped up and he came down. When he came down, I was safe. Now, when the inning was over, the Reds were winning 8-7. I remember that like it happened yesterday because Lou Brock hit a 2-run home run in the 9th inning and beat us 9-8. I mean, so that proved to me right there that I better run my tail off every chance I get. Because I know the first time I don't hustle to first, the guy's going to drop a pop-up or he's going to drop the ball at first, and I'm going to be standing in between first and home looking for a hole to get into. I mean, so I learned right there. I mean, I learned from that situation. 1964, we lost the National League pennant by 1 game. 1 game. So I learned that year how important every game is. Not the last game, or not the 150th game, or not the first game. Every game. And you got to play every game like it might be your last game, because it might be.
How are you able, though, once you walk between the white lines, to just almost walk into a different world? I get the feeling sometimes.
It was stage, buddy. We were on stage. I was an entertainer, and I just happened to be John Wayne in a baseball uniform. not with the looks. That's the way I looked at it. It was fun. I mean, I was...
You're dreaming, but go ahead.
it was fun. I mean, it's where I belonged. I mean, you know, I could sit here and talk about baseball all day to you, and I don't think I'll ever stick my foot in my mouth. Now, if you start talking about drugs, you start talking about the stock market or stuff like that, I have people who handle that. I won't talk about that because I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't like to talk about things that I don't feel comfortable talking about. I'll listen to anybody, but the guy who I'm going to listen to the most is the guy that's going to keep it the simplest. Because one of my philosophies on hitting the baseball is the less you think about, the better opportunity you got hitting the ball. Because you got enough to think about thinking about the guy standing 6 feet 6 inches from you, curving it, forking it, sliding it, screwing it, change-ups, palm ball, spitting on it, putting Vaseline on it, scraping it, throwing it fastball, breaking it off this way. You got enough to worry about. I remember one time we were in spring training and Ted Williams, who might have been the best hitter ever to play, I don't know, because I wasn't fortunate enough to see Ted Williams. We just couldn't get Boston on that 7-inch TV screen we had back in them days. We could get Stan Musial, but we couldn't get Boston. And I remember he asked me the question. I was just a kid. And he said, how important are your wrist and hitting? And I always was led to believe, no one ever told me yes or no. I just said, oh, they're all the importance in the world. And he got me up against his fence. And he said, now, swing the bat. So I swung the bat. Now, watch my wrist. Now, you hit the ball when his back arm gets straight. So you swing the bat. Look at my wrist. The wrist haven't done anything.
Nothing yet.
He said, well, isn't that something? I thought you said your wrists were important in hitting the ball. I said, I guess I was wrong. He said, your wrists are important in your follow-through, because once you hit the ball, then your wrist throw your back arm right on through the swing. And he hit me here, and he hit me here, and he hit me here, and he hit me here. And he had me thinking about everything. And I said, wait a minute, Mr. Williams. I said, I appreciate it. You might have been the greatest hitter ever to play the game of baseball. I said, but my philosophy is very simple. See the ball and hit the ball. He said, buddy, as long as you can see the ball and hit the ball, good luck to you. And he smiled and went on about his business. See, he was confusing me. And one thing you don't want to do to a young player or a young businessman is get him confused about what he's trying to do. Because everyone has philosophies on what to do, how to do this or how not to do this. And that's why you have to pattern yourself after someone that you believe in. And personally, I like to pattern myself after people who keep it simple. I mean, I don't want my players up there worrying. Players aren't robots. You know, salesmen aren't robots. You might have a style that will get the job done. Let them do it. Now, if they prove they can't do it their way, then you have to change them. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
But no one is 100% correct that this is the right way to hit a baseball, or no one is 100% correct as this the way to close that deal. And you have to find what's best for you and what you're most comfortable with. See, what people don't realize is everybody in this audience, everybody in this country, everybody in this world, we're all individuals. And some of us sleep on our back. Some of us sleep on our stomach. Some of us sleep on our side. Some of our grandmas sleep in a chair, almost sitting up. Why? Because they're comfortable. That's why it's not important how you stand when you got a bat in your hand. You have to be comfortable. It's just like you can't go to a sales conference and give a good talk if you got a toothache because you're uncomfortable. So comfort is a big thing in relaxing and being confident about yourself. Whether you're hitting the baseball or whether you're doing something else. It's very important. And that's why you can't tell some individual how to stand. I just throw him a bat and say, get comfortable.
See the ball and hit the ball.
Hit the ball. If he wants to lay down like Stan Musial, or if he wants to stand way back like Roberto Clemente, or has his hands down here like Willie Mays, everybody stands differently, but everybody hits the same way. You got to hit right from here. You don't hit from here, or you'll hit a ground ball. Or you don't hit with the bat down here, or you'll hit a fly ball. So it's very simple. And, you know, you can start hitting off the tee and all this stuff. I mean, that's a big thing about players today. They all hit off the tee. Well, you know, Tony Perez and I, one of my coaches was watching a guy hit off the tee the other day. And he was obsessed with hitting off the tee. And here's Tony with 2,700 hits, and I got 4,200 hits. That's 6,900 hits, and we couldn't even spell tee when we played. I mean, so it might work for somebody today, or it might not work for somebody today. I mean, you have to find out what's going to work for you. You have to find out what brings the most talent that you have to the surface. That's what you have to find out. They called us the River Rats, the guys that played at Bullface Park, and we used to always have to go up in Price Hill and play the kids that were so-called kids with money, and we were the only ones that gave them a good game. I mean, we thought it was the greatest thing in the world when we got a new uniform to put on every year. That was the greatest thing that could happen to you. You got tears if you... I can remember I was the last player to get a shirt one time on the Class C knothole team in Cincinnati. Coach Brinkman was he gave me the last shirt, and there was about 3 guys standing over there to get the last shirt, and I got the last shirt. It had Sedansville Civic Club written on it. It was a yellow shirt. We had yellow shirts. And then we wore blue jeans and gym shoes. And
Highlight of your life.
I thought I went to heaven the first time I put spikes on. I mean, I guess I was about 9 years old, and I got to wear spikes that made noise. You know, with the clicks
You mean
on
the
the
metal
bottom.
things
Yes,
click?
on the bottom of them. I mean, I thought that was the greatest thing in the world.
Pete, you're a superstar of the game. You were when you played. But when you played in the Little League, were you the star of the team?
No, not at all. First of all...
How about high school?
Not at all.
When did you suddenly become this superstar?
See, first of all, you have to realize, when I was a Little League player, and if you've ever seen pictures of me as a Little League player, I was a Little League player. I was always this much smaller than anybody on the ball club. And I don't know if that's where I got my spunkiness or not. But it was very unusual to see the guy 6 inches smaller than anybody else as catcher of the team. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't want to mislead the people. When I was growing up, I was a much better football player than I was a baseball player. When I grew up, I was a catcher on the same team that Eddie Brinkman was the pitcher on for 6 years. And he was like Babe Ruth in the Cincinnati area. You know, the White Sox signed him and he got all that money. The Reds signed me and I cashed my bonus check at the nearest drugstore. But I did catch up. The only reason, or the big reason why I got a professional contract was I had an uncle who was a scout for the Reds, because they weren't beating the door down to sign me to a contract. And if I hadn't had an uncle who was a scout for the Reds, I probably would not have got the opportunity to play professional baseball. I took my style of play to Geneva, New York in 1960 after I graduated from high school. And I think my style of play got me off on the right foot because I missed 2 months of the season because I was in high school, but yet I still won the most popular player voted by the fans. So I had a very positive attitude. I remember that because I got 2 Samsonite suitcases. And the reason I remember that because I didn't have enough clothes to put in 2 of them. And then the very next year I went to Florida, Tampa, Florida, and played for Johnny Vandermeer, and that's when I hit all those triples and won Player of the Year. So that's when I started blossoming into a good player. It's unheard of to hit 32 triples. The record was 12. I beat that in the first month. I took advantage of those outfielders that couldn't hit the cutoff man, what I did.
How many doubles did you stretch into triples?
A lot of it, but that's my game. I just was being very aggressive, and they were legitimate triples. I mean, I hit doubles too. But I think what happened to me, Bob, at a very early age in professional baseball that doesn't happen to a lot of people in life today is I knew what I could do and I knew what I couldn't do. And I just concentrate on doing the things I could do on a consistent basis. I knew at a very, very, very early age I wasn't going to be a home run hitter. I knew I was going to be a guy that's going to get 200 hits, a guy that's going to score a lot of runs and knock in runs if I got the opportunity, and had to play good defense. And I knew I was 1/25th of a team, 1/25th of a team. And if I did my job and the guy hit after me did his job, and the guy knocking in the runs hitting 3rd and 4th and 5th to do their job, we would win the game. And I always stayed within myself.
Approaching the major leagues, your last stop, I believe, before you come to the major leagues is Tampa.
No, it was Macon. I played for the Macon Peaches in the Sally League. And then from that league, because I hit .330, I got invited to the Instructional League in Tampa, Florida that winter. And that was the winter that Fred Hutchison, the late, great Fred Hutchison, manager of the Reds, came down to scout the instructional league, and I made 3 errors one day. But I kept my head up. I kept my composure. You know, a lot of kids would try to find a hole to jump into it. I still kept my composure, and I got a base hit to win the game. So I caught the manager's eye in the instructional league.
Even though you made 3 errors?
And even though I made 3
On
errors.
the one day?
He liked the way I made the errors. And he made a statement to the newspaper man that covered the instructional league for the Sporting News. If I had any guts at all, I'd put that kid in the lineup next year. And lo and behold, the next year was spring training, and he put me right in the lineup, and I've been there ever since. Opening day, 1963. I was the happiest kid in the world. You know when I got nervous? About 15 minutes before game time, a guy from the local paper come in and said, I want to get a picture with your dad and your mom and your brother. My mom, my dad, my brother came down by the dugout, which is field level, it's old Crosby Field. And all of a sudden I realized where I was at. I realized I was in Cincinnati. It's opening day. Tradition. Biggest tradition in sports. Opening day, Crosby Field, Cincinnati baseball, where baseball started in 1869, where the first night game was played in 1935. I'm the starting second baseman for the Reds. I was so nervous the first time up, I walked on 4 pitches. I could have went up without a bat because I wasn't going to swing. But the pitcher, Earl Francis, didn't know that. He walked me on 4 straight pitches, and I was off and running. That was the fastest I ever ran to first base. I went in 3-4.
On a walk?
On a walk. And people said, is this kid crazy? But I did that at high school. I did that at Bullface Park. I ran the first on a walk at Bullface Park. And when people see you for a while, I mean, when people in the minor leagues saw me do that, they said, look at this Hollywood hot dog. You know, they yell from the stands at me. I just laugh at it because I knew where I was going, or I knew I was headed in the right direction. I mean, I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. I'm glad I'm not a businessman, to be honest with you, because in my profession, you know, I think I got a good chance of going to the Hall of Fame. And I have a .304 career batting average, which is a little more than 3 hits out of every 10 times I batted. Now, if I'm an architect and I build 10 bridges and only 3 of them stand up, I don't know who is going to hire me. I'd be an aggressive businessman. If I owned a business, I'd be very aggressive. Because I would be total effort. I would be total enthusiastic. I would be 6 days a week. You know, I would just never get tired of it. And especially people who are in business and they like the business they're in. It's like me. It's like having a license to steal. I mean, how about people who have to go to work and don't enjoy doing what they're doing? It's like torture. It's like torture. And everyone out there selects what they want to do. And I'm not luckier than anybody else. I mean, because I can name 10 guys that had more ability when I was playing at Bullface Park than I had. Now, I don't know what they do now, and I don't worry about that. I mean, I wish them good health and whatever, but they had the same opportunity that I had. You know, it makes me mad when I see guys I know can be successful and they don't work at it right. I try to, I try to talk to them. I try to get them to believe in themselves. Because in my profession, as in most professions, confidence is a big factor. There's no question about it. Confidence is a big factor. And you can get a guy with average talent and this much enthusiasm and that much confidence, he'll be a star. You can be more of a success than me. I mean, I just happened to pick something that was fun for me, something I did when I was this big, and something I did when I was 40 years old, something I did when I was 44 years old. It was fun for me to play baseball. It wasn't ever a job for me. Life can be so much fun if you enjoy doing what you're doing. So try to realize what you can do and what you can't do. And just go out there and do the things you can do on a consistent basis. And you're going to have days when you don't feel well. You're going to have days when you don't get the job done. But as long as you have a lot more days when you get the job done, then you're going to be successful. And you'll be surprised when you're successful, when you're having fun, how easy it is to get up out of bed in the morning. It's fun to get up out of bed in the morning. There's so much to do in the world today. There's so much fun to be had in the world today. It's just amazing that more people don't really try to reach out to have all the fun in the world. Life is fun. Life is fun. Life's not a job unless you make it a job. If you make it a job, it can be boring. Baseball, sports, and life are nothing more than a game of habits. Good habits, bad habits. Eliminate the bad habits. Simple as that. There's only two ways you can do something. Right way or wrong way. Positive way, negative way. Winning way, losing way. And I try to emphasize the positive, right, winning way. I try to get people to understand the importance of practice, practice, practice. But practice the right way. Because if you practice the right way, you got a darn good chance of playing the right way or doing it the right way. If you practice the wrong way, you got a good chance of playing the wrong way. And if that's the case, then you're going to lose. And I don't think you should ever try to do something in this world unless you want to be number one at it. And if you're going to dedicate yourself to doing something, reach for the sky. The sky's the limit. The sky is the limit. If I want to be remembered, I would like for them to put on my stone a dedicated winner. Because it's all I've ever dedicated my whole life to is winning.